Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. I didn't think much of it the first time, or the second, but by the fifth time my future son-in-law asked about the exact property line, my gut started screaming. Tyler would stand by the big kitchen window of my ranch house in Colorado, coffee mug in hand, staring past the open meadow toward the old tree line. Same spot, same look, like he was mentally measuring the land. So, Robert, he'd say, real casual, like we were talking about the weather, where does your property actually end? Like, where's the official boundary? At first, I brushed it off. City guy curiosity, right? Folks from Denver don't usually grow up around open land. But I'm not new to patterns. I spent 40 years as an engineer before retirement, and patterns don't lie. When someone keeps circling the same question, it's never random. My daughter, Claire, laughed it off every time. "Dad, relax," she'd say, rolling her eyes. "He's just fascinated by ranch life. You know how city boys are." Yeah, I knew, and that's exactly why I didn't buy it. I met Tyler about 6 months earlier, when Claire brought him home for Thanksgiving. 33 years old, clean cut, sharp smile, worked as an investment advisor in Denver. The kind of guy who shakes your hand firm, looks you straight in the eye, and says all the right stuff. Complimented my late wife Linda's old recipes like he'd known her personally. Asked thoughtful questions. Acted respectful. Almost too polished. Linda passed away 3 years ago. Cancer. Took her fast. One day we were talking about expanding the garden. The next I was sitting alone in a house that suddenly felt way too big. 200 acres of land. Quiet as a grave at night. We bought this place 30 years ago when it was basically scrubland. Now, Denver keeps creeping closer every year, and developers sniff around like wolves. I'd had offers. Big ones. Life-changing money. But this ranch was Linda's dream. And I wasn't about to sell her dream for a fat check. Claire understood that. She grew up here. Ran barefoot through the fields. Helped her mom plant a garden that still explodes with color every spring. After Linda died, Claire checked on me almost every weekend, worried I'd lose myself to loneliness. So, when she met Tyler at some networking event and started glowing every time she talked about him, I was genuinely happy. After the disaster she'd been through with her ex, she deserved someone stable. Then things moved fast. 4 months of dating. That's it. Then Tyler proposed at some upscale restaurant in Denver, all candlelight and champagne. Claire called me breathless, crying happy tears. I did what any father would do, told her congratulations, said I was proud, said he seemed like a solid guy. But in the back of my mind, that damn property line. Claire wanted the wedding right here on the ranch. Same place her mom loved. I agreed. What was I going to say? No. She hired a planner, booked a caterer, sent out invites to over 200 people. Tyler jumped right in, helping with decisions, acting like the perfect future son-in-law. One Saturday in July, while we were walking the land, he said, "You know, Robert, if we cleared out some of these trees along the west side, we could really open up the ceremony space." Those trees sat right on the boundary. "That's where the property line is," I said flatly. He nodded, smiling. Right. But how far back does your land actually go?" There was again, that night, after they left, I sat alone in my study and pulled out the property deed. 215 acres. Bought in 1994 for 80 grand. Linda and I scraped and sacrificed for it. Today, conservatively worth over 4 million. Probably more with development rights. Claire didn't know the real number. She knew I was comfortable. She didn't know about the patents. During my engineering career, I designed a small component used in industrial refrigeration systems. Nothing flashy, but it paid steady royalties for decades. Add smart investing, and I was sitting on over 8 million in assets. Quiet money. Hidden money. I lived modest on purpose. Old truck. Jeans. Flannel shirts. Fixed things myself. I'd seen what money did to families. I'd watched Linda's wealthy relatives tear each other apart over inheritances. I promised myself I'd never let that happen to Claire. But now Tyler was asking questions that weren't about love. They were about control. The next morning, I called my attorney, Margaret. I need you to look into someone. I told her. She sighed. Robert, is this about Claire's fiancé? Just a precaution. 3 days later, she called back. Robert, we need to meet. In person. That's never good. She slid a folder across her desk. Tyler Hutchinson is legit on paper. Licensed. Clean record. No criminal history. My shoulders relaxed until she said, but... She pulled out another document. He's been engaged twice before. Both women from wealthy families. Both engagements ended suddenly, right after he gained access to family financial information. My stomach dropped. No lawsuits. No police reports. Just very convenient timing. One girl was the daughter of a tech CEO. Engagement lasted 5 months. Ended 2 weeks after Tyler attended a family meeting about inheritance planning. The other? Real estate money. Same pattern. Margaret looked me dead in the eye. These families don't sue. They pay problems to disappear. I asked the only question that mattered. What about Claire? Margaret paused. Claire doesn't have major assets. But if Tyler believes she'll inherit this ranch, he may be playing the long game. That night, I sat alone on the porch, staring at the land Linda loved. And for the first time, the question hit me hard. Was my daughter about to marry a man who saw us as nothing more than a payout? And if so, how far is he willing to go? I thought I was being paranoid. I prayed I was wrong. But the very next weekend, Tyler asked me a question that sent ice straight through my veins. The next weekend, Tyler showed up early. Too early. His Audi rolled up the driveway just after sunrise, tires crunching on gravel like he owned the place already. I was on the porch with my coffee when he walked up, sleeves rolled, smile locked in. Morning, Robert, he said. Hope I'm not too early. Something about the way he said my ranch felt like his future bothered me, but I smiled back, played dumb. Morning. What brings you out so early? He glanced around at the land, slow and deliberate, like he was mentally pricing it out. Claire and I were talking about the future. You know, adult stuff. Planning ahead. That phrase again. Planning ahead. He sat beside me, leaned forward like we were about to share a secret. I hope you don't mind me asking this, he said, lowering his voice. But have you done any estate planning recently? Just making sure everything's lined up for Claire. There it was. Not subtle, not accidental. Straight for the throat. I kept my face neutral, heart pounding. I have a will. That's great, he said quickly. But with a property like this, a trust would make way more sense. Way more tax efficient. I could help you set one up. No charge, obviously. I'm family now. Family. That word felt dirty coming out of his mouth. He wasn't done. And no offense, Robert, but at your age, long-term care planning is important too. What if something happens? Who manages everything? This place is a lot for one person. My blood ran cold. I'd heard versions of this story before, from Margaret, from other men who'd lost control of their lives one signature at a time. Power of attorney, trust control, slow squeeze. You're right, I said slowly. It is a lot. His eyes lit up. Bingo. Tell you what, I continued. Why don't you come by next week? Show me what you're thinking. I'm open to learning. Tyler smiled like he'd just won the lottery. Absolutely. I'll bring some materials. We can really optimize things. After he left, I didn't even finish my coffee. I called Margaret immediately. He's positioning, I said. Estate planning. Long-term care. Power of attorney is coming next. She went quiet. Robert, if he's doing what I think he's doing, you need proof. Not instincts. Proof. I know, I said. I need eyes on him. Margaret gave me a name. Patricia. Private investigator. Discreet. Ruthless when needed. I hired her the same day. Patricia moved fast. Too fast for comfort. Within a week, she had mapped Tyler's routine, his meetings, his calls. Nothing illegal, she assured me. Just pattern tracking. Then she called me one Tuesday night. Mr. Caldwell, she said, I need you to sit down before I say this. My heart sank. I managed to capture a conversation, she continued. Tyler was talking to a man named Marcus, longtime associate. What they discussed wasn't speculation. I drove to her office that night. No sleep, no dinner, just dread. She pressed play. Tyler's voice came through the speaker, smooth and confident. Yeah, I'm back at the ranch again, playing the perfect future son-in-law. Another voice laughed. You sure about the value? I checked county records 3 times. Tyler said, 200 plus acres. Bought cheap in the 90s. With development creeping this way, for the $5 million easy. I felt sick. She has no clue, Tyler continued. The daughter thinks her dad's just a regular retiree. No idea what she's standing to inherit. Marcus asked a question I didn't want to hear. So what's the play? Tyler didn't hesitate. I marry her. Be perfect for a year. Get the old man to trust me. Power of attorney. Maybe a trust. Accidents happen. People fall. Mine slip. I shut my eyes. Before she knows it, Tyler went on. I'm managing everything. We divorce. I take my half. Clean. The recording ended. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. That's conspiracy, Margaret said when she heard it later. Fraud at minimum. Possibly worse. But not enough, I replied. Not yet. If I went to Claire now, she'd think I was destroying her happiness. She'd think I was controlling, paranoid, bitter. She needed to hear it herself. So I did the hardest thing a father can do. I smiled. I nodded. I let Tyler think he was winning. The next time he came over, he brought documents. Power of attorney forms. Trust structures, with him listed as trustee. He walked me through them like I was clueless. And I played along. I've been thinking, I told him. You might be right. Maybe it's time to start making changes. His eyes gleamed. That night, Claire hugged me goodbye and said, Dad, thank you for supporting us. Tyler says you're finally coming around. I hugged her back, forcing myself not to break, because I knew the truth. The wedding wasn't going to be a celebration. It was going to be a trap. Tyler thought the ranch was his endgame. What he didn't know was that I was setting the stage to expose him in front of everyone he needed to fool. Once you realize someone is hunting you, you stop reacting and start planning. From that moment on, I treated Tyler like a chess opponent who thought the game was already over. I smiled more, agreed faster, asked dumb questions on purpose. Let him feel smart. Let him feel in control. Men like Tyler don't rush when they think the prize is guaranteed. He came over midweek with a leather briefcase and that same confident grin. Spread paperwork across my study desk like he was doing me a favor. Power of attorney forms. Trust drafts. Asset management charts, all neatly labeled, all designed to put in between me and my own life. This one lets me help if you're ever hospitalized, he said, tapping the page. And this, he added casually, keeps everything streamlined for Claire. I'd act as trustee. Totally standard. Totally predatory. I nodded slowly. Makes sense, I said. A lot to think about. That's when he leaned in. You know, Robert, I really respect you. You built something incredible here. I want to protect it. Protect it. Yeah, from me. Meanwhile, Patricia was busy. She installed tiny cameras around the ranch. Legal ones, focused on public areas and entrances. Nothing invasive. Just enough to document behavior. She tracked Marcus too, Tyler's shadow. Always nearby. Always whispering. The closer the wedding got, the bolder Tyler became. He started talking about, after the ceremony, plans. Maybe we sell off a few parcels, he'd say. No need to hold land you're not using. Or, Claire and I could manage things for you. Take some stress off. Stress. Like I hadn't carried this family for decades. Claire, meanwhile, was glowing. Dress fittings. Flower choices. Guest lists. She was living in a bubble of happiness. And every lie Tyler told inflated it further. That's what killed me. One night, Patricia called me past midnight. They're getting sloppy, she said. Marcus flew in early. They're staying at a hotel in town. What are they planning? I asked. Celebrating too soon, she replied, which usually means mistakes. She was right. The next morning, Tyler showed up unannounced. Quick question, he said, flipping through his phone. Do you have copies of your investment accounts? Just so I can get a complete picture. I stared at him, long enough to make it uncomfortable. Then I smiled. I'll gather everything. He relaxed instantly. That's when I knew something else. He didn't see me as a father. He saw me as a problem waiting to be removed. That night, I sat in my study with Linda's photo on the desk. I told her everything out loud. The lies, the plan, the danger. I won't let him touch her, I said. I swear. 2 days later, something unexpected happened. Claire came over late, later than usual. No smile, no wedding chatter. She sat across from me and stared at the floor. Dad, she said softly, can I ask you something? My heart dropped. Of course. Do you trust Tyler? I froze. What makes you ask that? I said carefully. She hesitated. He's been saying things. About the ranch. About you getting older. About how once we're married, we should simplify things. Simplify. That word again. I thought it was just him being responsible, she continued. But sometimes it feels like he's talking about you like a problem. I wanted to tell her everything right then. Rip the bandage off. Save her. But fear held her back, and I saw it. Fear of being wrong. Fear of losing everything she'd planned. So I said the only thing that wouldn't push her away. I trust you, I told her, and I trust your instincts. She nodded, but her eyes weren't convinced. That night, Patricia called again. I've got more audio, she said. And this time, Claire might have heard it too. My chest tightened. What do you mean? They were talking loudly in the hotel room. Tyler wasn't being careful. I didn't sleep at all, because I knew the truth was getting too big to contain. And when the truth finally comes out, it doesn't ask permission. It explodes. Claire was starting to doubt him. Tyler was getting careless. And the wedding was only days away, which meant the next move would decide everything. The closer we got to the wedding, the heavier the air felt, like the whole ranch knew something bad was coming. Claire started showing up more often, but quieter, less excited. She'd sit at the kitchen table scrolling her phone, biting her lip, zoning out. The sparkle she used to have when she'd talk about Tyler? Gone. Tyler, on the other hand, was riding high. He walked around the ranch like he already owned it, talking about after the wedding plans, talking about our future like mine didn't really factor in anymore. You know, he said one afternoon while helping set up chairs, once things settle, you should really think about downsizing. Maybe move closer to town. This place could be monetized. Monetized. I looked at him. This place was my wife's heart, I said, not an asset on a spreadsheet. He laughed lightly. Of course. I just mean practically. That night, Patricia came by the ranch, sat with Margaret and me at the dining table, spread out photos, timelines, transcripts. Every move Tyler and Marcus had made was laid bare. He's confident, Patricia said. Too confident. He thinks the finish line is the wedding. Margaret nodded. And that's his mistake. The plan was already set, but now we refined it. Cameras positioned, audio ready, sheriff alerted, old friend of mine trusted, discreet. Everything would be legal, clean, undeniable. The key was timing, not before the wedding, not behind closed doors, but where Tyler couldn't lie his way out. The night before the rehearsal dinner, something unexpected happened. Claire came over alone. No Tyler, no warning. She stood in the doorway, pale, shaking. Dad, can I stay for a bit? I didn't ask questions. I just nodded. She sat on the couch, hands clenched together. Silence stretched until it snapped. I heard him, she whispered. My chest tightened. He was on the phone, she said, with Marcus. He didn't know I was outside the room. She swallowed hard. He said once we were married, you'd be taken care of. He joked about you falling or getting confused. I closed my eyes. The words hit harder hearing them come from her. I did want to believe it, she continued. tears rolling down her face. I kept thinking I misunderstood, that I was overreacting. You weren't, I said gently. She looked at me. Do you know something, Dad? Every instinct screamed to tell her everything. But I knew if I pushed too hard, doubt would creep in. Tyler was a professional liar. He'd gaslight her into thinking this was all my doing. So I said the truth, just not all of it. I know enough to be worried, I said, and I trust you to do what feels right. She nodded slowly. I'm scared, she admitted. What if I'm wrong? What if I ruin everything? I took her hands. Then you'd still be alive, and safe, and loved. She stayed quiet for a long time. Then she stood up. I need time, she said. Please, don't do anything yet. I won't, I promised. And that was the hardest lie of my life. The rehearsal dinner the next night was pure theater. Tyler played the loving fiancé perfectly, laughing, toasting, talking about family and trust. Marcus stood beside him, smug, confident. To Robert, Tyler said, raising his glass, for welcoming me like a son. Everyone applauded. I smiled, clinked my glass, and thought, you have no idea how close you are to losing everything. The wedding morning came with perfect weather. Clear sky, golden leaves, mountains sharp against the blue. Linda would have loved it. Claire looked stunning in her dress, but her eyes were different, focused, guarded, like someone bracing for impact. As I walked her toward the ceremony space, she squeezed my hand. I love you, Dad, she whispered. I love you too, I said. And that's when I felt it. That moment, the last calm breath before everything burns. Claire had heard enough to be afraid. Tyler thought he was untouchable. The chairs were filled. 200 guests. Friends, family, strangers with cameras and champagne flutes. Laughter flowed across the ranch like nothing in the world could go wrong. But I knew better. The officiant stepped forward. Soft music played. Claire stood beside Tyler under the arbor, sunlight catching in her hair. She looked beautiful and terrified. Tyler squeezed her hand like a man sealing a deal. The ceremony started. Words about love, commitment, forever. Tyler nodded at all the right moments, smiling that flawless smile. The same smile he'd worn in my study while sliding power of attorney papers across the desk. Then it was time for vows. Tyler went first. Claire, he said, voice steady, emotional on cue. From the moment I met you, I knew you were the one. You and your family welcomed me with open arms. I promise to protect you, to build a future with you, to take care of everything we'll share. Everything. The word landed heavy. Then it was Claire's turn. She didn't speak. Instead, her hand trembled as she reached into her bouquet and pulled out a small folded note. She didn't look at Tyler. She looked at me. She pressed the note into my hand. 3 words. Dad, help me. Time froze. I stood up. Stop, I said. The music died. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Tyler turned sharply, confusion flashing for half a second before he masked it. Robert, he said, forcing a laugh. What's going on? Claire's voice broke. I heard you, she said. Silence. I heard you talking to Marcus. About my dad. About accidents. About taking everything after we got married. Gasps exploded through the crowd. People stood up. Phones came out. Tyler's face went red. Claire, this is insane, he snapped. You're stressed. You misheard. No, she said, tears streaming. You said I was stupid. You said I wouldn't figure out until it was too late. Tyler grabbed her arm. You're embarrassing yourself. I moved, but I didn't need to. 2 men stepped forward from the front row. The county sheriff and his deputy. Tyler Hutchinson, the sheriff said calmly, you're being detained for questioning regarding conspiracy to commit fraud and attempted financial exploitation. The crowd erupted. Marcus bolted. He made it 5 steps before Patricia tackled him near the parked cars. Clean, efficient, like she'd been waiting all day. Tyler started shouting. Lawsuits, lies, threats. But it didn't matter anymore. Margaret stepped forward with a folder thick enough to end careers. Recordings, documents, Timelines. Claire collapsed into my arms. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I was scared. I held her tight. You did exactly what you needed to do. The wedding never finished. The guests left in stunned silence. Caterers packed untouched food. The sun dipped low over the mountains, like it didn't care what humans destroyed in a single afternoon. Claire and I sat on the porch steps, still dressed for a wedding that never happened. I knew for 2 days, she whispered. I didn't want it to be real. I know, I said. She looked at me. You knew too, didn't you? I nodded, and for the first time since Linda died, I cried in front of my daughter. Tyler was finally exposed, but the damage was already done. And the hardest part was still ahead, helping my daughter survive the truth. The ranch went quiet after the police cars disappeared down the driveway. Too quiet. The guests were gone. The chair sat empty. White ribbons fluttered in the breeze, like they didn't get the memo that a wedding had just turned into a crime scene. Claire stayed with me that night. No makeup left. Dress folded on the couch. She barely spoke. Betrayal has a way of stealing words. The next few weeks were brutal. Statements, interviews, lawyers. Tyler and Marcus were formally charged. Conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, and a handful of extras their own mouths had earned them. Tyler took a plea deal, lost his license, banned from financial services, 5 years of probation. Marcus got time. Justice didn't feel loud or satisfying. It felt quiet, heavy, necessary. Claire blamed herself at first, replayed every memory, every smile, every I love you, asked how she could have missed it, asked how someone could fake a soul that well. I told her the truth. People like Tyler don't fake emotions. They study them. She moved back into the ranch for a while. Therapy twice a week. Long walks through the fields. Some days she was strong. Other days she barely got out of bed. Healing isn't linear. It's messy as hell. One evening, sitting on the porch, she finally asked the question Tyler had obsessed over. Dad, how much is all this actually worth? I laughed softly, not because it was funny, but because it was time. I told her everything. The purchase price, the current value, the patents, the investments. Roughly $8 million all in. Her jaw dropped. $8 million, and you dress like this? I shrugged. Money's a tool, not a personality. She shook her head, half smiling through tears. He kept saying you were loaded. I thought he was exaggerating. He was counting it, I said. I explained the trust, how it was already structured, how no spouse could ever touch her inheritance without her consent, how I'd built guardrails long before Tyler ever showed up. She leaned against my shoulder. You were protecting me this whole time. Always, I said. 3 months later, Linda's garden bloomed like it never had before. Claire helped me expand it. New roses, a stone bench with her mother's name carved into it. Some evenings, we sit there watching the sunset bleed orange into purple over the mountains. We talk about Linda, about mistakes, about how trust should feel. Quiet, not rushed. Claire started dating again eventually. Slowly, carefully, wiser now. Still kind, but sharper around the edges. One night, she asked me something that surprised me. Dad, do you ever regret not telling me about the money? I thought about it. Maybe, I said, but if you'd known, you might have doubted everyone, or attracted more men like Tyler. She nodded. The way it happened, I continued, you learn to trust your instincts, and you learn you can ask for help when something feels wrong. That's worth more than any inheritance. She hugged me tight. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. The ranch is still here. The old truck still runs. And the land is safe. Money didn't save my daughter. Truth did. Life didn't snap back to normal after that. It slowly stitched itself together, one quiet day at a time. Tyler faded from our lives the way parasites do once they're exposed. Loud at first, then gone. The news cycle moved on. People stopped whispering, but the lesson stayed. Claire stayed at the ranch longer than either of us expected, not because she was weak, but because she needed solid ground again. Some mornings we didn't talk at all. We'd just sit on the porch, coffee in hand, listening to the wind move through the trees. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, she said something that stuck with me. "You know what scares me the most, Dad?" "What?" "How close I came to giving my whole life to someone who saw me as a transaction. That's the kind of realization that ages you fast. But it also sharpens you." Claire went back to work, rebuilt her confidence, set boundaries she'd never set before. She stopped rushing, stopped apologizing for being careful. And somehow, she came out stronger than she was before, less naive but still kind. As for me, I stayed right where I was. Same ranch, same truck, same flannel shirts. The developers still call sometimes. I still say no, because wealth isn't what you sell, it's what you protect. Linda understood that. She always did. That's why we expanded her garden, why we planted more flowers instead of buying flashy things, why we chose memories over appearances. One night, Claire looked at the stars and smiled softly. "Mom would have hated Tyler," she said. I laughed. "Oh!" She'd have sniffed him out in 5 minutes. Claire leaned her head on my shoulder. "Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I didn't know what was happening." I wrapped my arm around her. "That's the job. Forever. The ranch isn't just land. It's a promise. A place where truth won, where greed lost, where love didn't get rushed or priced or tricked. And when I'm gone someday, Claire won't just inherit property or money. She'll inherit wisdom, the kind that can't be stolen, the kind that keeps wolves at the edge of the tree line, no matter how charming they smile. Because real wealth isn't what you own. It's who you protect and what you refuse to lose."